Fresh podcast here. I know we missed a few weeks right after saying we were going to try to not miss weeks, so that was a little unfortunate, but we're going to try to get better with the podcast consistency this year. We got some ideas to get some backup episodes and things in the tuck. So hopefully they'll be coming out every week, Wednesday, 6 a.m. Subscribe on the YouTube, 5-star Spotify and Apple. That's very important. Share it with a friend if you like the content. And yeah, we got a lot to talk about. We just came back from a 3-week hunt that kind of was in 2 separate locations, so about 10 days in each. Yeah, and it was a good time, challenging as always. Luckily, we had our great Badlands gear to be comfy and quiet and tough and waterproof and have a great warranty. And you can save 20% badlandsgear.com with code teambd on all Badlands gear. So got the sponsor out of the way. Tell me about the hunt and how it went.
Well, love the first area, hate the second one. I will never return there. First one was great. We chose that route because Teddy had 2 tags while we had 1. And so our second place where we held a tag, Teddy did not. So figured, might as well try to knock his out while we're there at the beginning. Everyone can deer hunt. And that was, it took, I think, 3 or 4 days before we actually saw the first group of Javelina there.
I don't remember. Maybe a few days.
Yeah. And then we were seeing them. Do you know that I did not in 20 days glass a single Javelina?
Yeah, that's wild. I glassed quite a few.
Yeah.
But it was, they were a lot more plentiful in the first unit. So
for sure.
The state we were in has hunt quotas. So the second unit we were hunting, you could not deer hunt. And only Brianna, myself, Matt, and Scott, who unfortunately couldn't come on the trip, had Javelina tags in that unit. Tove had one in a unit where the deer quota was open and he had a tag. And yeah, a lot more Javelina in that unit. A lot of deer in both, I would say. I think overall, we probably saw a slightly better caliber of bucks in the second unit. Although the biggest buck we saw was in the first unit. But after that, there was a pretty good drop off to the rest of the bucks we were seeing. But it was just a rough year for antler growth. I think it was pretty dry, and it was definitely reflected. I didn't see a single deer I even thought about stalking, which normally I'll see one. So I didn't, I guess we'll get to that. I did a lot of stalks on deer with the camera. I probably did 12, I bet 12 to 15, but I did not do a single one with the bow. So
I couldn't feel bad this year about, you not getting to go on as many just because you are, I wouldn't call it pickier. You've just shot enough in your life that there's no interest in going after granted you're starting to become more and more intrigued in Forkosaurus.
He was a very nice buck super nice buck, but you had developed a bit of a history with him, and Tove and I got close one time randomly too. So it was fun kind of being around that buck a lot. And something important to remember is that it's a split season tag. So that's part of the reason January is the very first portion that you can hunt the tag. And then there's portions 2 other seasons later in the year. So
it's a strange thing because you buy for archery, you buy your tag if you're lucky enough to get it in time. In whatever it is, like November or something, for the season to start up in January. But the quotas do not renew at the same time, which I think they do because of the rut season and to minimize, degradation of the deer population. But so you go out January 1st when your tag opens, but units just can start closing left and right that are on their last, it's their last hoorah before August when the quotas renew. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of interesting because in a sense you're like, it's the beginning of your year with that tag, but it's the end of the quota season. So you're kind of like where maybe there are nicer quality of bucks. A lot of those units are already closed before you can even get there.
Actually, a lot of the units with the biggest deer don't ever close, but they're much tougher to hunt. They're like, desert type stuff.
Oh, yeah. We never, well, you have, I'm sure, in the past. I have never been to like a true desert unit.
Yeah, you have. I think you just don't know what the desert is.
I wouldn't call those mountainy ones desert.
They are desert for sure.
I wouldn't call them desert. I would be like rolling sand.
They're called high
desert.
High desert is what they're called.
That's high desert. I want low desert.
I don't think you know what you're talking
I
about.
want low desert.
Jeez,
like the Sahara.
Okay. I have hunted that one time.
Yeah.
Shit like that.
I don't think I would enjoy it, though.
I just applied for elk, so that was exciting. I applied for elk and pronghorn, and then I'm going to be applying in March for more states. I want to
That's
apply.
a bit of a subject change, and we hadn't finished discussing all the hunts yet.
I was just thinking about hunting, but yeah, the hunt was good. We got some really, really good deer stalks in, some phenomenal footage. I mean, I was talking to a buddy about it the other day, and I think once I do the hunt video, like probably maybe 3 videos, I want to release the raw clip, no editing, of us having 2 different buck shots back to back, and I never hit stop on record. So it's the most epic, like whatever 3 minutes of footage like you'll ever see. So I think at some point I'm just going to put up a raw clip of the whole thing and let people watch it with no cuts, because it was so crazy,
Yeah.
Well, how do you think about that? Getting 2 shots on deer frickin' back to back was insane.
Yeah, so...
Because you missed the first one.
We knew for sure. I mean, it was maybe 22 yards when we kind of rechecked afterwards, but I knew as soon as you turned me and pointed out where he was about to be, that there was next to no shot in hell.
Well, there was a window, but you had to get lucky.
Yeah, and he was not in... His butt was in the window. Like, if I wanted to be a D word...
Never do that.
Yeah.
Did you think about shimmying at all? Maybe moving right or left a little?
No. Granted, he was so, again, hindsight's always 20/20, and sometimes that never works out. They bolt when you move. But he was alert in a sense, but it was only because of how, and when you see the footage, you'll understand, like, how rutting that buck was, that I think maybe I could have shimmied.
Yeah,
and he would not have. He would have, like, when you watch the clip, like you said, like, I noticed he squatted, like, actually squatted when he stopped and looked at us, but it wasn't until afterwards that I registered that he was literally squatting to take a pee.
Well, and to rub his glands together.
Yeah. So I think I could have gotten away with a shimmy.
Well, it's hard. I mean, you know, even though you have shot a few things on the ground level now in your archery career, still not a ton. So you're still learning how fast stuff can change and move and happen,
and how fast
when you're
you
ground
can move.
Yeah.
Not just how the scenario can move quickly, but how you have to, like, instantaneously be able to read the animal and what it's doing and its body movements and how alert it is, but in, like I just said, in different ways. And it takes a lot to get, like, instantaneous at that, fast at that. And so there's, like, almost always a hindsight 20/20, shoulda, coulda done this. But nonetheless, the clip is crazy because you just watch that branch get cut in half. And if you put that thing in slow-mo, though I think it'll probably be a little grainy, you see my arrow go off to the moon.
Yeah. Well, so you had like one stalk, and then if your arrow had hit left or right, it would have gone right through. Perfect. But unfortunately, you did the one thing that you couldn't, and it was teed up the friggin' thing perfect, which is in a way good.
Stalk of the pucker.
Which in a way is good because you didn't harm the deer. Your arrow went way to the moon. But I mean,
Yeah.
It was one of those shots where it wasn't like you're shooting through a thick, dense bush. It was like one stalk and then pretty open, and you just needed luck on your side to miss one way or the other, and you unfortunately teed up the branch perfect. But so then the buck darts off, right?
Yep.
And then we turn, and the other one is still on a string coming right to us.
Yeah. And what's crazy is like he already was not necessarily on a string, because my assumption as we watched him come, the first one with the doe came down the hill, and they were coming toward us, but like on a leftward path, like this is us, this is them. And I just kind of assumed, again, you can only assume, that they're likely going to follow the same trail and scent. But as I was watching him, he wasn't. He was just directly facing us, made it all the way down to the bottom of the hill. And that's when the other one popped up right next to us. So like I took my eyes off of that because we turned and focused on that, and it didn't pan out. And then we turned and looked back at him, and he was just coming. Just nowhere, not taking the trail that those ones did. When you say straight at us, it was literally straight at us. I had ranged a prickly pear at 53. I had ranged the one he was at before at 100. And dumb me, just again, hindsight's 2020. Sometimes like you lose sight of like shots can end up close.
Of
close
course,
range.
Especially.
And I ranged nothing before 53. And so this deer is moving on a string on a clip straight to us, and all I could do is just whip out and try to range a couple of things, and I had ranged one thing and he was already passing it, and so I just turned and ranged something as close as possible to me, and it was 30 on the dot. And as I'm lowering the rangefinder to put it down, he's passing it. That's how speedy he's just walking leisurely. But deer walk fast when they're not stopping and feeding and stopping and feeding. And so I had to take I would call it an educated, unmarked guess.
Yeah, I mean, you had something to
I had
pass off
something.
of. That's not unmarked. Yeah,
It is unmarked. It is.
Well,
you don't have a range on.
I don't consider that unmarked. If you know something is like 25 yards and then say something's past it a few, you at least can go, okay, it's probably like, 32. Like a guess off of something. Unmarked is like you're in a field and someone puts something out there and they're like, how far is that?
That's why I call it educated, unmarked.
Yeah,
because marked is marked. You have either ranged the animal or something it is standing right next to.
I would say
I do not have that. So I would still call it an educated unmarked, because you still don't have a marked range of the animal or something it's standing next to.
I would say that is a very, you hardly ever get a exact yardage and shoot something when you're hunting spot and stalk on the ground. I think usually it's what you call educated unmarked. That's most of my shots.
Not to the
where I
distance
ranged.
he moved, though. He walked sideways, I would say about 7 yards. To me, that is not. Yes, like when we go out, we start ranging bushes and junipers and cactus and whatnot, so that like if they pass those things, we know what those ranges are. But
Educated unmarked.
I still wouldn't call that educated unmarked, because if they're passing right by it, then that is the range. Like they're in line with
It's
it.
probably off by a few, at least,
I wouldn't say a few.
It depends, But again, I think that's very common in spot and stalk hunting, is like, I've probably shot 3/4 of the stuff where it's like, I may have had a range for 47 and it's like, he's probably right around 47, but could be 51, could be 44.
That also works for you because you're shooting a 70-pound bow with a 29.5-inch draw.
Yeah, that's why I think it's very good to learn a little bit about that guessing too, like within a few years, like increments, you know what I mean? Like if you could see something, okay, I have that bush ranged at 41. He's walking a trail my side of it. He's probably 2 yards closer, so 30 or 39. I mean,
sure, yes, I get what you're saying, but where I have to be better at guessing than you do is
100%.
because if I'm off by 3 yards, That's the difference in missing and hitting the animal.
Well, I think that's the case if you're like past 40 yards, but I think from like 20 to 40, it's probably not as vast of a difference as you might think.
I don't know.
It would be something you could test though, right? At the range, and that would be a good thing to test. Like, okay, if I shoot from 20 to 40, like how much is being off 5 yards at 25?
Yeah. Or in this case, 30 and he was at about 32 and I shot for 40.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a pretty big difference.
And 8 yards is
probably like that much, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe not, but we'd have to practice.
We'd have to go and do some experiments.
Yeah, morally.
But anyways, guessed too much distance because I should have, again, hindsight, when you're thinking about this and things are moving fast, you also have to get faster and better at doing that. Making an educated, unmarked guess is that though he was moving away from the thing that I had marked, he was still almost moving laterally with it. Exactly. But you can't, like, I hadn't passed that topography yet. So we were in a wash, you could call it, a ditch, and there was a hill, a little hill, and he was up above it but behind it, so like I couldn't see the bottom of his legs to see that it was fully like pretty much lateral. I thought he was moving away because at this point he'd come and then he turned and was going this way. And so I thought the distance was just increasing as he's moving away from the bush. But it wasn't enough because he was still also lateral. So he wasn't going far enough back for the guess of 40. But to have like two of them just come straight at you, just standing there, goes to show that like the rut can distract them a lot. And when you have good wind and, you come in quietly and whatnot. But that was quite an experience. For them to just walk straight to you. It
was awesome. It was really cool. You don't get situations like that super often, so it's always a treat when you're in a rut frenzy like that, and we were right place, right time. I mean, we were in a bottom and they came right by us. And then, another time we almost had the same situation play out where we were in a bottom trying to beat a buck there, and then he was there before us, and then it ended up that a bigger buck was still in there, and we stalked in, and my hands
the last morning
freezing cold. And then one time with Tove too, I mean, Tove and I, we got so close once. Again, we're stalking a different deer, and we're up just hanging out by these does, and we're kind of pinned down. We don't really have anywhere to go, and those are working closer to us, like, because they're curious, And they had probably come from like 80 yards to maybe 95 to like 80. And then out of nowhere, a bigger buck shows up out of nowhere right up there, right? And then the doe turns and they're coming right to us. And finally, me and Tolvers just hunkered down, and we got to 66 yards. And when he went to like get like shimmy to draw, the deer busted. But it was cool. It was once again just like a total rut scenario. And
yeah, that's where I watched that clip, and it's like, that's why I always say, like, maybe 80 to 90% of it is skill, and then after that there's never not a time that luck is not involved with spot and stalk, because in that instance, like, you got as close as you could, but it was wide open. Granted, you can't hide, like we've discussed this. You can't just stand behind the tree or the juniper or the bush, because how are you going to shoot? Yeah, but to have some bit of cover can always help. And in that instance, Ted had none.
No, we kind of pinned down. I mean, we were to the right of a tree, which is good because it kind of breaks up your outline and everything, but yeah, you got to sit or stand in places where you got shooting windows. That is key.
Yeah.
So yeah, really, deer hunting was awesome. I didn't have a tag after January last year, so I do this year, and I'm excited about that. Get to try some different units, and that'll be fun. Then for Javelina, we saw a lot in the first 10 days. where Tove had his tag, and the video will come out. It's we didn't do the best job of filming this time, but we did get a couple of shots on film, two audio, I think, sort of. So it was okay, but Tove, I'm trying to think here. We stalked a group and got in on him, and we were kind of stuck, me and Tove filming. We were trying to come around this horn. We had heard him and then like ended up finding him. And they were right below us. You know, it's crazy how sound echoes. It sounded like they were a long ways away, and then they ended up only being like 100 yards. So we stalk in. Brianna stays on the hill, and we try to get in. And the best we could do is like 60. Like it was just like we had to come around this like knuckle, and one was just bedded, looking right at us, and they were already sort of nervous. Like the wind, it was goofy. So we finally get a shot at like 55 and Tove's using the dual track, and he forgot to move it, right? So he shot for like 30. So the arrow came up way short. It hustles off and stands there. He gets another shot. That one doesn't pan out either. And they run off, you know. So we're like, okay, that really didn't pan out too well. So we're walking around. We get back to the top where you're glassing, and you're like, hey, there's one Javelina just still going across the top of this hill. So we're watching it, and ends up going out of sight. And then we see two more down in the bottom. So we're like watching those ones, and we're like, maybe we'll go after those ones. And this is when I turn and I see something coming down, caught my eye right where the Javelina had gone up, basically. So I'm like, oh, it's probably the same Javelina coming back down. We should get in there, you know. It wasn't long before I saw it wasn't a Javelina. It was a Coatimundi, right? With his big tail. And I'm like, he's just walking, just one of them, you know, big, dark one. And I'm like...
And if you don't know what a Coatimundi is, you should pause real quick and go...
Maybe we'll put it on the screen right here.
Yeah, because they're... you say it, and a lot of people don't even know what it is. No. It's like... It's literally like a mix of a raccoon, a monkey, an anteater, or... I don't know what all got together and had an orgy and made a Coatimundi, but it's cool crazy. Animal. But it is in the family, correct, of the raccoon. I
believe so, yeah. So anyways, it's coming down, and it's like, I guess I'll try to get in there. You can shoot one per year. So, and I've hunted this country for like almost 30 years now, and I've only seen them. This is the third time I've seen one in person. Like, so it's very rare to see one. Mm-hmm. Sort of like a mountain lion or something. There's probably shitloads of them. You just never see them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I got to try it. So, and I never stalked one, so I don't know like how tough this will be. And I got my new bow that I've barely shot, and like they're not big. So I loop around the hill, and I'm stalking in, and we normally would have filmed, but again, like this is like that chance that doesn't happen very often, and we don't know how tough it's going to be. So we're like, okay, I just get over there, get around the hill, get in position. Wind's good. And he's coming down one side of the hill, and he's just like kind of meandering through the bushes. And I'm like on the opposite side of a ravine. So we have like a ditch between us, and I'm ranging him, and he's like 45, but he kept staying behind bushes. So I never really got a draw on him. And finally he was about to come in a window, and I might have drawn.
I think you said you did once.
I think I drew.
And he didn't stop moving.
Well, I whistled at him, and he didn't stop. This is when I realized, like, okay, at least this particular one is not that hard to stalk. But then he, like, goes behind the bushes again, and he starts going uphill. And stuff can change in an instant. He can just choose to run away, and it's done, right? So he starts working back up the way he came, and I start working up the drainage on my side, and it kind of like he's sort of almost heading to the tip. So I'm like, okay, my shot should get closer here. So I range him a window. He's not in it yet, but I range a window, and then I get my sight ready, and here he comes into the window, right? So then I draw, and I whistle at him again. He's not stopping. So then I do the little varmint squeal, and then he stops, like perks up, looks at me. And again, new bow, haven't admittedly shot it near as much as I should. I put the pin on him, and I mean, I couldn't have hit him better.
Yeah,
it was like
that was a
perfect, perfect shot.
I want to say it was
36 36 yards, if I remember right. So 36 yards. You probably got a vital the size of a tennis ball, maybe. And friggin' blew it out. And then he ran up the hill and went down in about 15 seconds. And Brianna sort of filmed.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, like, so Ted moved really fast to follow you. And that made me a little nervous because, like, basically, like, where you guys were at when you first saw that javelina down in the bottom, I mean, the quaddy was just right across from that, but we're up high. So I didn't want to move that fast and get that close, not knowing where you were circling down around the hill and, like, get there in front of you and spook it off. So Ted went out and I just kind of slowly crept out there. And I was trying to grab clips at times when it wasn't behind a dang bush. It would, like, either go down at, like, the base of a prickly pear or, like, the base of a bush, like, where you just couldn't see it and get a clip of it, film it. And so I'd make it to Ted, and both of us, what we think is crazy is that both of us never saw the Coatimundi leave this last prickly pear. I tell Ted where I think it last was. He goes, yep, it was just in that prickly pear. I get the, like, he's trying to get me to set up the camera on the tripod. And his didn't, like, I don't think I had the, what do you call it? This thing.
The mount?
It didn't have a mount on it.
Yeah.
So it was like, this is pointless. Like, I don't need the tripod. But so I'm just setting it on the tripod. And no sooner do I hit record and we just hear thump. And we both our heads turn because we followed the sound of the arrow and we're like, that doesn't seem right. We never saw that Coatimundi leave that prickly pear. It had to have happened in a time where, like, I was trying to get the tripod set up and Ted, looked away then to take his, binoculars off or something. But the distance he traveled in that time was just what was, like, wow. So again, didn't get that on.
Not the shot, but I did film the animal, as did you.
Yeah.
So we got footage of the animal, and I believe there actually is audio of my arrow hitting it. I think you can hear. So it's kind of fun, but I was just super stoked to get that chance. And if anyone is watching this as a taxidermist and is interested in doing some sort of collaboration with it, I do plan to full body mount it and probably put it in here in the studio. So if you want some publicity for your taxidermy service, reach out. Maybe we can make something happen. I do have a guy in mind, but we haven't solidified anything yet. So reach out on that. But yeah, it was really cool.
Now, wasn't there another, there was another time he let, I thought, an arrow fly for Javelina prior to that one.
Me and Tove?
Yeah.
No, I think that was the first time. We only stalked Javelina twice. So, but yeah, good times there. And then, we proceeded to hunt deer for a few more days. Lots of stalks, but nothing ever got done. So, no other.
That was the only time, well, other than the time I just flung an arrow for absolutely no reason at Forcosaurus. That doesn't even count.
That was goofy. So anyway, so then we get to the date that we had planned to move to a new unit where we could have Javelina hunt. And this would give us about, I think, like 10 to 12 days, probably about 12 days to hunt, which, like, should be ample for a Javelina, you would think, right? But new unit, at least for Javelina, I haven't hunted there since, I think, 2018 and maybe a little bit in 2021. So we get to the unit and start looking for peccaries and just hitting glassing spots, and Matt joins us, and we're glassing, breaking off into two groups, glassing elsewhere. And where we're hunting is pretty populated, and it's very close to a major populated city. So on the weekends, it gets blasted with people on side-by-sides off-roading, and a lot of hunters from this big city will come out for the weekend and hunt in this unit. So it didn't take us too long to learn that a couple of things. Number one, The Javelina in this unit are pretty educated. They're smart, number one. Number two, they do not hang out where you can glass them from a road very much.
No.
So we ended up having to hike a lot, and the country was actually really gnarly, like steep, rocky, nasty, big.
In places very shaly or like shale and sand. Now, I will say, like, it's funny because we've hunted a couple places now that you could say are pretty big, like OHV areas, like off-roader fun places. And I've seen it two different ways now where like animals are, I wouldn't call them tame by any means, but like will acknowledge a vehicle by looking at it, like, and then kind of either just walk off or do nothing based on how threatened they feel. Or like we saw in this unit, they are extraordinarily skittish of remaining anywhere near, you know, not even run away from a vehicle. Like you wouldn't find them anywhere near a road.
No way.
You have to hike in a half mile through a bunch of, you know, rolling hills or extremely steep stuff to start at the top. And then from there, start your glassing and hike around to get a different viewpoint, vantage point. It's just funny how it can go two different. I've seen it go two different ways about an animal's behavior near off-roaders. This was just not one of those units.
Well, I think partially is it's very open country, relatively speaking. So like animals are
that's
like
very true.
Whereas like if you're an animal in an area with timber, you're like, I can be close to a road and peeps, no one will see me.
Yeah.
Whereas like these dudes, if you're near a road, like they're gonna probably see you. So I think that's part of it. But yeah, it ended up being super physical. We spent a freaking boatload of time behind the tricers, tripods and binos. And by the way, Tricer, the best tripods. They're so light, so easy to pack. The new AD and BC are even smaller, even better. We do carry them on bowdisciples.com. And right now there's a giveaway for a half dozen HLRs, beast broadheads, boning vanes, grip tape, nose button, peep tuner from Bomar Archery, and a 4-pack of our game bundle. And every $10 gets you an entry. So if you buy a Tricer tripod and panhead off bowdisciples.com, you're going to have a lot of entries and have a good chance to win. Or you can get them on Tricer.com with code teambd as well. But hit our website because you get a chance to win some bitchin' stuff. That makes more sense to me. But yeah, the tripods are key. I don't even consider you glassing if you're not behind a tripod. And it was kind of interesting because on a prior hunt, I had those stabilizing binoculars from Alpen. And, you know, it's like you almost think like, oh, I don't even need a tripod if I have these. But that is not true. Like when you're sitting and glassing for like 8 hours a day, which is about what we were doing when you add up the evening and the morning, about 7 to 8 hours a day of glassing nonstop, you need a tripod. You just need one. Even if you have the stabilizing binos, you need them on a tripod. It's just not an option. Now, I will say if you're hunting in like timber and stuff and you're just still hunting through it, that's where I think having those stabilizing binos in the harness is nice. Because if you're just cruising around and checking trees every 200 yards, you probably don't need a tripod for that.
Yeah.
You're probably, and it's not super efficient. So like, I think in some cases, it's nice to have both tools. The stabilizing binos and the tripod, but I just love glassing.
But when you're in open country or even if you're in timber, but like you're going from, you know, you're going to hike into timber, that's where your stock's going to go or, you know, where you got to traverse through or whatever, but you're getting to the top of a mountain, cliffside, whatever, and then glassing out into canyons or, you know, prairies or flats or whatever, the tripod is still then needed. And I think the reason, my opinion is the reason for it, and I think you'd agree, is that though the stabilizing binoculars, they do live up to their expectation. Yeah, they are very fantastic. Yeah. They're very good. They take away all those shapes.
Especially if you're like road hunting or glassing from the road or walking around still hunting, like they definitely have their place.
But
I love
the duration. It's the duration in which you have to glass for. And I can sit there behind the glass and just go like this for an hour without needing to stop glassing or longer. I just get impatient or bored. But you could go for forever, like there's nothing your arms are doing other than moving your tripod every so often.
Yeah.
When you're holding stabilizing binos, well, guess what? These arms get tired. And so that time that like you don't realize that you're wasting, like putting your arms down, and then now all of a sudden you skip a spot, like when you're panning and you're gridding things out, like you might just pick back up and look somewhere else. And that time you skip letting the binos down and putting them back up, you can very easily, miss an area you didn't look at. Or I think people occasionally move too fast with stabilizing binos instead of really staring at things more closely.
People move too fast in general. But
yeah.
But yeah, I think the key here is it's important to have both things. But obviously we were really spending time behind the tricers and, like I said, boatdisciples.com for them. But we were freaking pounding the glass. And I don't even think we saw a peccary.
I think it was day 6, 5.
I was going to say maybe like 4, but yeah.
Maybe it was 4.
But I remember we're sitting there glassing and it was like the sun wasn't even quite up yet. But we're looking directly where the sun is going to come up, or I was. And we were looking at the same hillside. Yeah, exactly. And I just go, hey, I see a group of them, and I saw a group. I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy shit, I see a group, and there was a lot of them. So I'm like, call Matt, and I'm like, hey, we see some, like, come over to our location. We'll try to go in here and you get on them on the glass. And before you know it, they're out of sight. Like they
were moving when I got them into my glass already. Yeah. I've never seen peccaries move so much ever.
They were maybe in sight for like 2 minutes and then they're out of sight. So before Matt even arrives and you're even hardly ready, I'm like, hey, meet me over there. And I just start booking it through the desert to get up high to where hopefully I can find them. I get up there.
We both left for that one the first time. We both left at the same time. Yeah. But once we got to the first hill, you went off pretty immediately to the next hill over. I waited for Matt and Ted. But then I checked and you went another hill over. Mm-hmm. So I left them. Well,
I got to that first hill as fast as I could. I didn't care if you were keeping up. I'm like, I need to get up there as fast as possible. So I get up to that first rise, and to your credit, you were there not very long after. You've gotten faster, Buster. You've gotten faster.
Yes.
But anyway, I'm up there, and I'm breathing because I just freaking pinned it up here. Now I start glassing, nothing.
Nowhere to be.
You get there, we're glassing together, nothing. And then I say, hey,
you take off to the next hill.
Nothing.
Third
hill, nothing.
Matt and Ted make it out, and we all spread out and start glassing.
Nothing. So we never saw them again. We got the slip from a big group of probably 10 plus. And that was very obviously disheartening because we had worked so hard to find them. And then I believe it might have been the very next morning or maybe 2 mornings later, but we have this plan where Teddy has to go to town to do some tasks. The plan is that we're going to get out there and we're all going to kind of pick different fingers and just like walk and spread out.
Yeah.
And everyone picks their first glassing knob, but we're a long ways apart from everybody. Probably like, I don't know, 400 or 500 yards between each person on different knobs and fingers. And I'm walking this top and it's howling on the top, right? And I look and I just see something like on the hill I'm on, like kind of go do this, and it's black, and I'm like, shitting my bridges. That's got to be a peccary, Mm-hmm. And he's only like 160 yards, right? And then there's a bunch of them, just a whole bunch of them. And I'm standing here 160 yards. I'm like, hey guys, like I got him right here, but y'all got to walk over and we'll try to figure it out.
Well, what's funny is when, at first, like when you told me, you texted like a pin of where you were, and said they're probably about 200 yards from me. I think is what the text said or something. And then I sent you a pin to myself and I checked the distance. I don't know. It registered. I don't know why I didn't say it to you, but it registered in my brain. So I said it to Matt because basically I was the furthest away the way we had spread out. And so I should have said it to you and I said it to Matt. But I was like, there is literally no way in the distance that they are from James and how far I think it was 580 yards from your pin. And so I was like, there's no way that I am going to make it there before a situation develops with these Javelina. And so I had told Matt, like, you guys just do whatever you need to do. I'm going to attempt to make it over there, but I will probably not make it before a play develops. And then that's when Matt told me, because again, I like kind of left you alone at that point. We had the one phone call when you told me, and then I got the pin. And so when Matt called, he told me like where they were, like on the sunny side of the hill that you're on, not the other side that I can't see or none of us can see. And I was like, oh, my route just got double the length because I can't just come straight at you because I'll just be coming straight at the Javelina and the wide, little rolling hills down at the bottom. And then that was a really nice flat down there. I'd glassed it a lot of times prior to, like, it had a nice tree down there and everything. So it's like, I'm going to be in the wide open to get to these Javelina. I'm going to have to go around the other mountain that you told me to meet Matt at, go around the backside of it and come, the same direction Matt was going, only he was half the distance that I was. And so, yeah, hindsight's always 2020. Matt was so close. Like, part of me's like, man, just get up to the top of the hill and try to find a peccary. Like, they're always in groups half the time. But you know what happened next. Very disappointing.
Well, so yeah, I see them. They're about 160 yards ish, and so I'm just standing there. I'm pretty close by, but I'm on top of them. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just. And the wind was kind of marginal with where I saw them, but luckily it was howling so hard, and it had they were here, and the wind was probably blowing I'm here, they are here, and the wind was probably blowing here, which isn't great, but it was blowing so hard, and they're below me. I think I was like, it should probably be okay. My wind should be blowing, number one, left of them or east of them, and it should blow over them if it goes, because it's really howling. So anyway, I'm just sitting there, and as I'm sitting, I start to notice that a whole bunch is coming towards me. So they were like 160, and then they were 120, and then they were like 80, and I'm like, okay, I might have to just shoot one from right here, possibly. So I start getting my tripod set up, which would have been great. I have the camera shot set up. They're coming right to me. I'm like, this is going to be aesthetic. I'll feel bad if I pipe one, but if they come right to me, I got to shoot one, right? So I'm sitting there, and then Matt calls me and is like, hey, what do I do? And it was windy, right? So you can't hear me unless I talk a little louder. So without even thinking oh, they're going to spook if I talk, I'm just like, oh, just come right down to me, get on the other side of the hill and then come to me. And then as I'm saying that, they all turn and just walk away. And I'm like, God, that was so dumb. Why did I do that? And so I'm like, okay, I got to shoot one. But I really don't want to not film. I hate not filming. My job is to make content, right? And it's fun. I like that element. So I'm like, okay, well, I got to make this happen. So I bring my tripod with the camera on it. I put a mount on, bring the camera, and I loop around, and sure as shit, I get right to them, right on their path. They're coming right in front of me. One stops at probably 35. But my camera, I'm on such a steep slope, I can't get it set without tipping over. So I'm trying to get it set up, and then that one moves off. And I'm like, okay, this is perfect. I said, that one left, but now I have a little gap and more are going to come. So this is perfect. So I get the camera somewhat right, and boom, here comes 3 more. Right through the same gap, but even closer. So I'm huffing at them, and they just will not stop. They keep going. So now I'm like, okay, well, I'm waiting. I'm figuring more will come. And that must have been the last 3. No more came. So then I go down the hill. Still, it's so dang steep that I'm struggling with the tripod. I'm just and I'm holding my
favorite story is when Matt was like, yeah, at the time, I didn't know why in the world you were running around with your tripod. He was like, what are you trying to glass them while you're trying to shoot them? But he didn't realize you had the camera set up on the tripod.
Well, luckily they're very light, so it's like not a burden to take them. But the problem is the terrain was so steep that you're having to make big adjustments. And I am holding my bow, and I can't set it down hardly, even with the mule, because it's so steep that sucker's going to go down the hill. So I see them down below me, and I'm like, okay, they're like, shoot for 55. It's probably like 60 something, but because of steepness. So finally I get the camera sort of set up, and it's pointed the right direction, and I have it recorded and zoomed out. I'm like, that's good enough. That's the best I can do. So they run through my window, like 2 or 3 of them, and then one more comes through, and I woof at him, and he stops. And I draw, and I held the pin, felt good, but it's windy as shit. And I'm blowing around, and I shoot, and I mean, I thought it was a great shot. It looked like it was perfect. I'm like, okay, he's going to be smoked. And then I hear my arrow just go, like, hit rocks, and he just goes like this, just flinches. And I'm like, and then he just stands there. So I'm like, as always, reloading as quick as possible. And I probably get to like here about to pull back. And then he skirts off, and I went down there, and my arrow was right in his trail, sticking up like this. So I think I must have hit either right below him, probably. And then it made him just flinch because it was so close. I probably felt the breeze come by.
The crazy thing is that picture of like, it shows how steep it is. Like usually when you like, your arrows will bury in dirt or, or laying on the ground. But like this one is literally like sticking like this out of the ground.
I should have taken a better picture because it actually was more of an angle than it looks in my picture. Like it was probably like that. Yeah. Like it was steep. So anyway, I missed, and I was like, okay, well, my streak of hitting stuff with the Alliance didn't last very long. Got one and then a miss. So then that was it that day. And then
and that was the only group of peccaries Matt ever got to see in the whole trip, because I think it was like he had one more maybe full day there before he had to go home or something. But that's the only time he saw peccaries.
Yeah, it was really tough. I think we saw a third group maybe while he was there, but I can't remember. I know we saw 5 groups total in 10 days. So we saw 5 total. One was
saw that first group. We saw that group that you missed. Then the third group was the one we went after on the other side that we ended up spooking them in that canyon.
That might have been the 4th group. I think we might be missing one. And then the 5th one was the one we got him, but Tove glassed up 2 groups, so I know we're missing one.
Yeah, it was the ones we went after. We stalked in that wash. Up.
Oh, yeah.
Literally could see them while we're putting on sneaks, just milling around eating.
Matt was gone by then. So it's poor Matt. I mean, he comes out for a week and we see 2 groups of peccaries and he only actually sees them once. That's why it was tough. And then, another time Tove finds them. We go in there and it's like you would think it was good. The wind was shifty, though. It was so shifty in this bottom.
But that was the first time I'd seen them. The second time, because that time we stopped in and blew it. They were calm then as well. But like by calm, I mean like it didn't seem like they were like on the move. Like they were actually, when you see peccaries doing what peccaries normally do, rooting around, eating, moving from bush to bush. Like
I love
just
peccaries.
Calm.
Oh, I love.
And we were a couple 100 yards putting on sneaks, and I could still see them just eating. And then in the time it took from me to look one more time while putting on my sneaks, they were still there. Finished up, stood up, gone like the wind.
Yeah, it was crazy. It really was. And
couldn't find them.
We stalked all the way to the top, got in there, couldn't make it happen. And then, we ended up seeing another group and really rugged stuff. And we get in there and we're like, they're just gone. Again, we get in the bowl and it's like, they're nowhere to be found until they popped out of a bush at 32 yards. They were all bedded under this freaking bush, and they just busted out, and
you had
we were running around
that close, and you had managed to get your pack off, which makes a little bit of noise. You had managed to get your tripod opened, set up. You got to pull the tripod out, pull the binoculars out. And then I think just probably between that and then me coming up behind you, which is more separated noise, not noise happening at the same time. So, you hear it once. So then it's again, me coming up, me taking off my pack. And I didn't even get my pack off all the way before the bushes just blew up straight down below us. And that was a real heartbreaker. But that's not to say that it wasn't, there was effort. There was an attempt in that one as well, because you had run.
We glassed them from so far and got over there. And yeah, when they spooked, I watched them. You're like, don't not watch them. So like 3 more go to the left and you're watching them and I stay on the main group. And it looks like they're going to settle up under this tree.
Did.
And then they did not. They turned and went all the way up and over. And you were, let's be honest, you were frustrated and kind of pissy at this point. So
yes.
When I saw them run over the top, I'm like, I know I could run up there and probably shoot one, but then I don't want to get hung by Brianna either. So I'm like, okay, we'll both go up to the top. And I try my best to, not go too fast. Of course, it was still too fast. And
that was
yes,
the first chunk wasn't steep, but the last, I wouldn't even call it the last chunk. That hill, it petered and then went back up again. And that chunk to get to that flat-ish section before getting up to where, I finally saw you, that was again like a crawl on 4s.
Yeah, it was steep. So I get up to the top and I'm thinking I'll probably see them on the other side and then maybe can glass them and get opportunity. That's usually my goal is let's get up high, see them again and go from there. So I'm up there. You're nowhere even close to the top. And as I'm up there, I don't see anything. And I'm like, okay, let me get on this rim and get up a little bit higher and then I can see into this next ditch. And as I take a couple of steps, I hear some commotion down below me. And I look, and this one is just running right to me, right? So he's sprinting up this cliff, and he just stands there on this, rim. And, shoot, he was quartered to me. I think it was, shoot for 35, and I friggin' draw back and shoot. And I noticed when I shot, he reacted a lot before the arrow got there. I just saw a lot of movement.
Well, these are the sketchiest peccaries known to man.
Well, and he was already alert because he was charging up to see. He didn't know where I was, but he heard something. So he's ready to fight, quartered to me. And I'm like, that's fine. But anyway, he reacts a ton before my arrow gets there. And I hit him, but it doesn't sound great. It was okay. And then he turns and runs off down the hill. Friggin', he got shot out of a cannon, right? So he starts running up the other side. And this is big country. So, he runs way down. And
when I finally made it to the top and you told me, where he went to, I was like, it's a very long ways for an injured peccary. So, he can't be that injured.
So he runs across. And now he's a long ways, and he's still just friggin' going. And I'm looking at him, and I see blood down his side, but I can see it from the very top of his back coming down. And his whole side's covered, but it's even at the top, which is not good. So I'm I hate to say it, but I don't think I hit him. I don't think that's going to be a lethal shot.
You always tell me, a high meat wound. It's a lot at first, and then
peccaries have that much hair on their back, So if you see blood all the way at the top, you probably just barely grazed his, And this is when I started to wonder. Okay, I missed a very steep shot downhill at 55, and now I farmed an easy shot at 35. Now, granted, he moved a lot. I know he did. I saw it. But I also hit him high, right? And we go track him and track him and track him. We spent a lot of time looking, and the blood's okay, and then it gets less and less and less and less. And he goes up into the thick trees, and I follow him all the way up there, and he goes all the way up and over far, far. And then the blood's basically gone. I'm like, dude, that dude is just fine. 100%. It was a flesh wound up high.
Yeah, and when you say we had found the one spot that he had most likely stopped for a little while. Mm-hmm. And then after that, we were literally following every 10 to 20 yards was you saw a drop on a rock.
Yeah. And
a drop on a rock.
Yeah.
A drop in the wash.
Yeah.
nothing, like droplets,
Yeah.
which is what happens after, a high hit like that. It looks great at first, and then all of a sudden, it starts to seal up pretty quickly, and you got no blood.
I was immediately concerned when I heard the arrow hit him, and then when I saw how far he was running, especially with I think I was shooting 2.3 inch head. I'm like, I think I just grazed his back. It's just unfortunate. But then I start thinking to myself, okay, I wonder if my axes are off or somehow something's like messed up. I never am an equipment blamer. Like, it probably was just me, but with both two very steep down shots, and the first one was a tough shot. Second one, total chip shot. So I'm like, okay, I wonder if potentially this brand new bow that I haven't shot that much, which is my fault, isn't quite right.
Why?
And I have no way to adjust it, really. I mean, I can adjust the sight, but on flat ground, it was hitting a bit right, but like in the center. And so anyways, that was a very unfortunate situation once again. We bust a group. We almost get one. We don't. Very unfortunate. And then the next day, we didn't see one at all.
No.
I remember that. So we didn't see one the next day. And then the day after, Brianna's legs are hammered. She'd been hiking a ton with me, and my thought is like, okay, she needs to not hike today. So I said, why don't you glass from positions where you can just sit by the Kawasaki in glass mountains, and Tove can do the same with the other Kawasaki in different areas, and I will go hike the mountains and look, and if I'm too far, I'll just try to shoot one myself. But at least this way we're covering tons of ground.
We're on day 10 at this point.
We're on day 10. So it would be, I hike out there, I get all the way to the very top, and I'm looking around, and you're like, hey, what if I just drive around and pick you up on the other end of the mountain range? And I'm like, I love that. That sounds great. So you drive all the way around. And
great plan to glass all that like stuff on the far end that we never look at. Come around and glass earlier on, and all of that stuff on the road, the wash up to you on the other side of the mountain that we never stop at. Mm-hmm. Like prior to where we saw that dude's F-150, all that we never stopped and looked at. Mm-hmm. I was like, so I'll just go slow, like you said, and look at all of that stuff.
Yeah, and I loved it from a hiking perspective. I'm like, that's a great hike. Get to see good stuff. And so I had made it pretty far, but I was also working very slow. I was just like still hunting and then sitting and glassing for 30 minutes. Still hunting, so I'm making zero. So I told you, I was like, bro, it's going to take me a while and I'm not going to rush. So I'm just going to go slow.
Now, did you go up to that top?
I was at the very top.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I was checking out the stuff on the backside. And then I get, Tove says, hey, I saw one peccary way over here. And I'm like, okay, well, that's the opposite direction I've been walking. So now I have to go all the way back past where I started and keep going to get to where he's talking about. And you have to, get all readjusted and get over and glass with him. So he's pretty far away. And so we get over there. Takes us a little while to sort of figure out a plan, but we figure out a good plan. We stalk in this wash. We get up in this, once again, very nasty terrain to get up to the spot. And we get over there, and it was nice because we could see them the whole time after we were like 300 yards out, which is great. So we're walking, great wind. I mean, you'd blow the dust right through your face. You know what I mean? It was perfect, pretty hard wind too. And we're stalking in there, and at one point we see them, or I see them, and they're like probably 80 yards. And I'd go like this to film them, and they all turn and just walk over the hill. I believe
both of us at the same time go, no, 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 no.
Yeah. I'm like, how? The wind's perfect. We're not making noise. We're like, what?
There's literally no way.
There's no way they spooked, but they all I saw like 3 or 4 of them line up and go over the hill, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So we just stalk around, and I see one actually pretty close to the left coming up out of the bottom, and I'm like, okay, we're going to be
still there.
I think. So I'm like, Brianna, get in front of me, and I want you to just sort of stalk this direction. So you do great. You're stalking through. I'm ready with the camera. I got my Badlands Sacrifice LS pack on, which is nice because I have that clip that can go through the camera. So I have it right on my chest so I can shoot or range or grab my camera and film really easily. teambd, 20% badlandsgear.com. Sacrifice LS.
Also, did you know I did that entire stock with my release clip to the bow?
Very nice.
Isn't that nice?
Mirror Archery, bowdisciples.com gets you 5 entries for the giveaway that it goes through January 31st. So you got a few more days.
Now that could be hard if you're in thick stuff,
sure.
you know, but it made it so much easier that like all I had to do was just keep one hand on the bow so my arrow wasn't bouncing around. But I had immediate access to my range. I think I might have walked with it for a little while in my hand, because you just range, put it away, and I was able to draw. But yeah, so we count, there was a finger that came to the top-ish, and then another finger comes right back down. So it created a canyon that we had first seen them in. But we knew they were up toward the tops, we were coming across the top. So now you kind of have a crosswind, I guess you could say, a downwind, first, in your face. And so we get to that next finger to a new bowl, I guess you could call it, ravine. And that's where you said, let's just hold up and just
I could
stand still for a minute.
You were a little antsy or a little tense again, and you got it. We got in there, and you're kind of like, what? I could tell you're a little antsy. So I said, let's just stand here. So we just stood there, and it didn't take long, and you went, I just saw him right there, down there. And I didn't even see him because I'm sort of behind a bush. And then you're like, what do I do? I'm like, well, step out to where you could shoot one, So you take a step over, and then I peek, and I could see 3 or 4 of them. And I'm like, do you see them? Because you're not you're like, no, I don't see them. And I'm like, I don't know how. They're just in the open.
Yeah.
So finally
That's when I stepped.
Yeah.
Stepped and turned.
Right.
And could see there's 2 down on the left. And so I ranged them 42 and put it away and go to draw, and they kind of step off a few steps, but it's going downhill. And this is, again, one of those times that I'm glad I didn't, because peccaries are small animals, they're not the size of a house hog.
No, they're small.
Maybe the baby one that's born, that's about the biggest they get. But I'm glad because I ranged it after all this happened, and it went from 42 to just those few steps they took downhill because it was so steep, took it to 38, which is almost a 5-yard increment for me. And on an animal that small, if I had not changed, I probably would have shot over if I had just decided to shoot at the ones that moved down. So I had already gotten into the draw. And so you just kind of whispered to me, if you can hold it, just wait, though. The more will come through the window. And we could see them, I could see them just barely on the edge of this juniper that's down there.
And you could see there was a trail.
Yeah, you could see a trail, and I could see a couple right there amongst the edge of the brushy juniper. And so I was like, I'm just going to keep holding. And one walks out, of course, with a little baby football, we call them, doesn't stop. Just walks down to the other ones. And in my mind, again, you're trying to get faster and faster at these decisions. And I was like, no, I'm not going to shoot the moving javelina. And it didn't even cross my mind at this point that it had a baby. We're on day 10. I'm just like, I just want a javelina. I couldn't care less if it had a baby with it or not. Usually I do care about those things, but
breed plenty.
Yeah. So it kept going, and I'm still holding. I would like to time it with the video and see how long it
I
was.
got the footy.
Yeah.
And I wasn't pointing at the ground.
Yeah, mine was a different story. Yeah. But then the baby kind of turns around and comes back, and another one finally, once the baby gets up to it, comes down into the window and stops, and the baby goes back down to its mom. And I was like, that's it. So I waited just long enough to settle the pin on it. And because we're now, we were going up the finger and the wind's blowing straight in our face, but now we're shooting this way across and down the finger. So wind, for us, for scent wise, not a big issue based on where they were, but for holding the pin, it was like I was fighting to keep it upright and not pushed over. And so I'm very proud of that factor, because normally I'll just be like, screw the bubble and just let the arrow go. And that is that's not a good idea. But I checked the bubble. I looked at the pin. Everything was good. And then I let it go. And
hit the peccary good.
Hit the peccary very good.
Yeah. He ran off, and before we even anything really happened, yours like you hit him and he sort of moved like up and stopped, and then I'm like, here's the camera. I'm giving you the camera to film, to point at the animals. Unfortunately, you forgot about this part. So
miscommunication again.
Let me get to it. So the Javelina start kind of going crazy, and Brianna, again, she's this is her third one in a row, so she has some Javelina hunting experience, but not quite as much as me. And we're also tense because we, especially like we wanted to be done with this hunt, and you wanted to come home and see the dog. So she's like very frantic, and they're all just running around in front of me, and I'm like,
have we counted in the video yet how many times? You haven't cut the clip, right?
No, let me finish it. Let me finish the story. So they run. There's one like in her initial window that she shot in. So I said, Brianna, what was that range? Because she's filming, so she can't range, but I know she already knows that range. So I said, what's the range? And she said 42, I think. So I put my sight at 42. And then after that, I hear just in the background, I think, we'll have to listen to the tape going, 65, 55.
No,
55.
Don't just hear me. Don't just hear me. Yeah. You're leaving out a critical factor of I want to go back and count. I'll even put a little counting clock on the video. I think that would be quite nice, even though the video is pointed at the ground. Because you began to then ask me over and over again, what's the range? So I've already now told you 42. Yeah. So I'm presuming that we're no longer speaking of the 42 because I've already said it. And you probably asked at minimum 3, but I can guarantee more. Well, so it's somewhere between 4 and 5 times you ask me.
Well,
you can't discount it. It's on the tape. Even though the tape's facing the ground, you do ask multiple times.
Yeah, we'll watch it.
What's the rate?
We'll watch the tape. We'll see.
We'll watch the tape because you do ask multiple times.
But my point is, I always tell the gang, always. People always ask me when I'm filming to range for them. And I always say I cannot range and film. I want to just film. And that's what I told Brianna, I said, never range for me again. Like, I just wanted the one range in my head. Maybe I asked more, but like...
Not maybe.
But hold on. There was this franticness I could tell where you're like, I want you to shoot one right now. I do not want you to wait for them to settle down and then shoot one. Like, I want you to shoot one right now so this hunt's finished, right? So I'm holding a draw just like you. Just holding a draw, and I'm like going to this one, this one, this one, this one, and they're all moving. And finally one, a little further out, stops, and he's broadside. And this is part of the reason the dual track's cool, is like, I think I had the sight set for the first window, which was whatever it was, 42. And the second one, I'm like, it's probably 12 to 15 yards further than that window. So I just put the second pin right on him, and I'm like, it should be close enough. Like, it should be pretty close. So I shoot and I thump him. Great height. It was a little to the right. Again, I'm pretty sure my bow was not quite.
Well, so far every shot downhill.
All right.
That's when we officially screamed. I would like to see it when I don't care to go, but like for you to actually look at the bubble, the levels when you get that bow tuned, because I'll almost guarantee you that your bubbles are going to be off to the side. And it
wasn't just like a little, everything was way right, and especially steep stuff. Yeah. And I think part of the reason my shot was pretty good on that one is it was the most flat shot I had taken. It was pretty flat. So, anywho, hit him. And he ran across, or it ended up being a sow, but she was a big one. And she started spinning around, and I'm like, okay, she's going to be dead right there. And she was down right there, probably within a minute.
I could see her in my naked eye right there at the top.
And yours went down, didn't go far at all. I mean, yours probably went 30, 40 yards. And then, boom, we had ourselves a Javelina double. It was Oh, it was like you would have thought we were hunting a grizzly bear, how tense it was, just with like, we had worked so hard and we were also running out of time. Like, we had to leave Friday, and I want to say it was like maybe Wednesday or
It was Tuesday.
Tuesday. So we were like, time was ticking and it wasn't going good. 10 days of hunting, we saw a herd 5 times. 4 of them gave us like the slip.
And yeah, now I know people are going to listen to you say 10 days and 5 encounters. You're like, that's one every other day. Like, but again, going back to like, these were not your standard, like, when you know animals' habits and like how they behave. These were very educated javelina. So like, they just, even down to like, you could be nowhere near them. Like, you're glassing them, watching them, and their behavior screams skittish, like constantly on the move, constantly moving quickly when they are on the move. Like those ones we saw the first time we saw them, you would have thought they were already spooked. They were trotting across the top of the hill when I glassed them. I never see javelina unless they're grab-assing. And even then, it's like in circles and whatnot. Like, I never see javelina running in a string, just by themselves out of the blue, a half a mile away.
Right. They were definitely skittish. They were definitely educated. They definitely like to live in the big country. And it was tough. It was harsh. It got hot. It was windy every day. So it was cold in the mornings, super windy, hot. But I love hunts that are challenging. It definitely was that. So anyway, we got it done, came home. I went to Supercross with Kawasaki, which was amazing. Unfortunately, Jocelyn gave me and Paul like some really cool Kawasaki cups, and we freaking forgot and left them in our seats when we left. So I'm bummed about that. So hopefully she'll give me another one because they were sick. But I got to do a little tour of the rig, and it's just been good. And then we got a tournament this weekend in Yuma. You're not going to shoot, you're going to film, but you're excited for that. And I'm going to shoot the Proven. That'll look much different than the last time people seen it. So I'm excited. I still have a string that's cut from a Beast broadhead, so hopefully it makes it through 40 arrows. And then I'll get my new strings put on. So Road to Vegas still happening. Your arrow series still going. I don't know when the next part will be out, but lots of big fun stuff coming. I think you're going to an outdoor expo in Pennsylvania, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about that.
And you'll probably film there some. I'm going on a javelina hunt with just a friggin' loaded group of guys coming up. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, we're going to see you guys next Wednesday. Also, I'm about to go get lunch. I'm actually going to be a little late with my buddy, the legend himself, Jack Peterson, who I'm going to confirm, hopefully, is going to do the show for Bow Disciples Challenge 4, which tickets go for sale February 1st. Very, very soon. So I can't wait. BD4. There's going to be some changes. It's going to be fun. It's going to be huge.
Thor's hiked up, buddy.
I know. They can't see them in my clip, but yeah, they're crazy. So anyways, we appreciate y'all listening to the podcast. It's good to be back. We really are going to try to do them every week for the rest of the year. And hopefully we don't miss next week. But 5 stars, Apple and Spotify. That's really important. If you're on Apple or Spotify, just right now, 5 stars for us. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And then, bowdisciples.com. Get entered for the giveaway through the 31st. Bow Disciples Challenge 4 tickets go for sale February 1st. Shop those Tricer tripods. They're phenomenal. teambd, badlandsgear.com, and podiumarcher.com. And we will see you guys in the next podcast, huh? Does it feel good to be back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm going to go love on Albus now for a second.
Okay. Well, thank you for everything. We'll see you next week.